Picture this, it's June 1941. From the frozen steppes of 1941 to the smoldering ruins of Berlin in 1945, the Eastern Front was the largest and bloodiest theater of World War II. At the heart of this colossal struggle was a brutal, grinding war of attrition fought with steel behemoths. The tanks, this is the story of that conflict, a titanic clash of armor that would define the outcome of the war. It's a tale of innovation, desperation, and the three legendary tanks that came to symbolize the struggle: the Soviet T-34, the German Tiger, and the Soviet IS-2. When Germany launched Operation Barbarossa in June 1941, the Wehrmacht's Panzer divisions seemed unstoppable. Their Panzer IIs and Panzer IVs, honed by the Blitzkrieg tactics in Poland and France, sliced through the initial Soviet defenses. The Red Army's tank fleet, though numerically vast, was largely composed of obsolete models like the T-26 and BT series. On paper, the Soviets had thousands of tanks, but in reality, poor leadership, inadequate training, and mechanical unreliability meant they were decimated in the opening months of the invasion. But then, the Germans encountered a nasty surprise, a revolutionary. The T-34 was far from perfect. Early models were plagued by a two-man turret, forcing the commander to also act as the gunner, severely limiting his situational awareness. The crew ergonomics were terrible, visibility was poor, and mechanical breakdowns were common. But its core design was so effective and so simple to mass produce that the Soviet Union could churn them out by the tens of thousands, literally overwhelming the Germans with sheer numbers. The appearance of the T-34 sent a shockwave through the German high command. It was clear that their current tanks were outclassed. They needed an answer, and fast. Germany's answer arrived in late 1942, a beast of a machine that would become a legend in its own right: the Panzerkampfwagen VI, better known as the Tiger. The Tiger was the complete opposite of the T-34E's design philosophy. Where the T-34 was a mass-produced jack-of-all-trades, the Tiger was an over-engineered, high-tech predator. It weighed a massive 57 tons and was protected by immensely thick, flat armor, up to 120 mm at the front. Its main weapon was the fearsome 88mm Quick 36 gun, a derivative of the legendary Flak 88 anti-aircraft gun. This gun could destroy a T-34 from well over a kilometer away, far beyond the effective range of the Soviet tank's gun. When a Tiger crew was well trained and their machine was working, they were the kings of the battlefield. Accounts from the Battle of Kursk in 1943 tell of single Tiger tanks destroying dozens of Soviet tanks, holding their ground against overwhelming odds. German tank cases like Michael Wittmann and Otto Karius became famous, their kill counts soaring into the hundreds. The Tiger's reputation created a genuine Tiger phobia among Allied soldiers. Every German tank spotted was suspected of being a Tiger. However, the Tiger's strengths were also its greatest weaknesses. It was incredibly complex and expensive to produce. For every Tiger built, the Soviets could produce roughly 10 T-34s. It was also a gas guzzler with a limited operational range, and its immense weight meant it was prone to mechanical failures. Transmissions broke, engines overheated, and its sheer mass made it difficult to recover from the battlefield if it got stuck or broke down. While a Tiger was a formidable opponent in a defensive long-range engagement, it was a logistical nightmare. Germany simply could not produce them in the numbers needed to turn the tide on the vast Eastern Front. As the war progressed, the Soviets continued to refine their winning formula. In 1944, they introduced an upgraded version of the T-34, the T-34-85. This model addressed the original's biggest flaw by incorporating a new, larger three-man turret and mounting a much more powerful 85mm gun. This upgrade finally gave the T-34 a fighting chance against the Tiger and the newer Panther tanks at typical combat ranges. Now, the Soviet tank crews had a machine that combined the T-34E's classic mobility and mass producibility with the firepower needed to tackle Germany's heavy armor. The T-34-85 became the definitive tank of the Red Army in the final year of the war, leading the charge all the way to Berlin. But the Soviets weren't finished. They had seen the power of the Tiger and decided they needed their own breakthrough heavy tank, a machine designed specifically to smash through fortified German lines and hunt the big cats. The result was the IS-2, named after Joseph Stalin himself. Entering service in 1944, the IS-2 was a monster. It had thick, well-sloped armor that offered even better protection than the Tigers, and it mounted a colossal 122mm A-19 gun. This gun was essentially a field howitzer adapted for a tank turret. It fired a massive high-explosive shell that could blast German fortifications to pieces. If it hit a Tiger or Panther, could shatter armor, blow off turrets, and cause catastrophic damage even without a direct penetration. The IS-2 was not a duelist like the Tiger, its rate of fire was slow due to the two-piece ammunition, and its accuracy at long range wasn't as good. But that wasn't its job. Its job was to lead the assault, organized into independent heavy tank regiments. The IS-2s were the steel spearhead of the Red Army's final offensives. They would roll forward, absorb punishment, and use their massive guns to obliterate machine gun nests, anti-tank guns, and any German armor foolish enough to stand in their way. Seeing an IS-2 approaching was a terrifying sight for the beleaguered German defenders in 1945. The final battle for Berlin was the ultimate culmination of this armored conflict. The streets of the German capital became a hellish close-quarters graveyard for tanks. Here, the Tiger's long-range advantage was useless. The fighting was block by block, house by house. Soviet T-34-85s swarmed through the rubble, supported by the brute force of the IS-2s, which systematically pounded German strongpoints into submission. The last few remaining German Tigers and Panthers fought a desperate, futile last stand. In the end, the tank war on the Eastern Front was a story of two competing philosophies. The German approach focused on technological superiority, creating complex, powerful, and expensive machines operated by elite crews. The Soviet approach prioritized mass production, simplicity, and ruggedness, creating tanks that were good enough and could be produced in immense quantities to overwhelm the enemy. While the Tiger was a masterpiece of engineering that dominated individual engagements, it was the humble, relentless T-34 and its powerful big brother, the IS-2, that ultimately won the war. They were the tools that allowed the Red Army to absorb horrific losses, grind down the Wehrmacht, and carry the fight from the gates of Moscow all the way to the heart of the Reich. Their legacy is etched into the history of the Eastern Front, a testament to the brutal logic of industrial warfare. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the armored warfare of the Eastern Front, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more history content, and let us know in the comments which tank you think was the most influential. We'll see you in the next one.